Let's be very clear about something. This is not a sermon. We're here to conduct a forensic report. We're putting on the gloves to dissect a sickness that's plaguing the spiritual marketplace, the weaponization of fake generosity. You can think of this explainer as an autopsy, a deep dive into how these so-called free readings, well-intentioned or not, end up hollowing out the very soul of the tarot economy.
So that's exactly how we're going to treat this. What you're about to see is evidence, analysis, and then a final verdict. There's no softness here, no room for excuses. Our one and only goal is to understand the pathology of a system in decay. The examination starts now. Every good autopsy begins by identifying the subjects. And in our case, they tend to fall into three very distinct, very predictable archetypes. These are the primary carriers of the contagion we're about to investigate.
First up, we have the wealthy altruist. You know the type. The lawyer, the executive, the one who hosts a pay-what-you-can weekend. Their social media just glows with this manufactured holiness. But really, it's just PR. Then there's the bored benefactor, often a comfortable housewife with way too much time on her hands, who claims that doing free tarot energizes her. What that really means is, I need an audience, I need a stage, and I need you to clap for me. And finally, we have the low self-esteem giver. This person is rich in excuses and completely broken boundaries. They genuinely believe that self-sacrifice will earn them blessings from a universe they treat like some kind of cosmic ATM. Now, the one thing that ties all of them together, it's a shared delusion. Despite their different situations, all three of these specimens operate under the exact same flawed idea, that avoiding money is somehow a sign of spiritual purity. They actually believe that this moral theater buys them metaphysical dividends. It doesn't. So we've identified who they are. Now we have to map out their motives. The story they tell on the surface is always the same, right? I just want to help. But the forensic evidence, well, it points to something far less noble. See, if you dig just a little bit, you find the real drivers are corrosive. There's reputation laundering, turning a weekend of freebies into look at me, I'm so kind content. There's validation seeking, which uses other people's problems to feel good about themselves without any real risk. There's control, giving them influence over emotionally vulnerable people. And then there's the illusion of karma, this bizarre spiritual hedge fund where they think the universe will pay them back for devaluing their own work. It's all just a cheap thrill, a quick hit of superiority with a halo attached. But these motives, they aren't just personal flaws. Oh no, they have systemic consequences. They are the gears in a machine that is actively breaking what we can call the economy of care. So let's look at the four main ways this corruption works. These are the four horsemen of this particular apocalypse: market distortion, adverse selection, the normalization of exploitation, and signal corruption. Each one of these creates a distinct form of rot within the community. So the first mechanism is market distortion. When someone with a high, stable income sets the price for tarot at free, they completely shift the entire market's anchor point. They're telling the public that this skill, this labor, is worth nothing. And that directly undercuts the professionals who actually need to eat. The second mechanic is adverse selection. Look, free doesn't attract your ideal client. It attracts opportunists and scavengers. So the reader wastes hours on people who are never going to pay in the first place, while the serious seekers, the ones who actually value the craft, they get driven away by all the noise and the drop in quality. It's a completely self-defeating strategy. So now that we've established the mechanics of how this works, we turn to the damage report. And let me tell you, no one is immune to this poison. The harm just radiates outward, affecting the giver, the professional, the seeker, and the entire field. Ironically, the person handing out all the freebies is often the first victim. Their gift stops being a craft and becomes a habit. They develop this spiritual flabbiness, confusing attention for meaning. And that initial ego rush, it fades, leaving them emotionally bankrupt, having traded their dignity for a little bit of cheap, fleeting applause. For professionals, the damage is frankly catastrophic. Their income gets completely eroded by the downward pressure of free. The public's perception of their work is destroyed when sloppy, rushed free readings become the norm. They're forced to compete with an impossible price point, which leads to burnout, compromised standards, and eventually a bitter exit from the field. And you might think the people getting the gift are better off, but they're harmed too. They often get shallow, rushed, confusing guidance, and people make real-life decisions based on this stuff. Worse, it trains them to expect profound emotional and spiritual labor for free, which just breeds disrespect for the craft and for the practitioners who take it seriously. So if we zoom all the way out, the entire field suffers. A culture of entitlement just festers and grows. The community begins to rot from this core, contradictory message that spiritual purity somehow requires financial poverty. It's a toxic belief that starves integrity and makes sure that the most gifted practitioners simply cannot survive. And this brings us to the most common defense, doesn't it? It's the last refuge of the low self-esteem giver. It's the great myth, the bad contract they've signed with reality, whispered in the desperate hope of some kind of cosmic reimbursement. The answer is an unequivocal, absolute no. The universe doesn't have an accounts department. It does not pay invoices in blessings or romance or job promotions. It's a mirror. If you model your own work as worthless, it will reflect that worthlessness right back at you. The reward isn't prosperity. It's just more people treating you like you're on a clearance rack. So after a thorough diagnosis of the pathology, we have to prescribe a cure. And this is not some gentle recommendation. This is a surgical plan. It requires discipline, clarity, and a radical commitment to the health of the entire ecosystem. The steps are very clear. First, declare a firm policy. No freebies, no crumbs. Period. Second, redefine what charity is. If you want to give back, donate money to a cause. Don't devalue your professional labor. Third, raise your price anchor. It signals quality. Fourth, if you're wealthy enough to work for free, use that money to sponsor professional readers instead. Fifth, teach boundaries as a core community value. And finally, number 6, audit your outcomes. If your generosity is only generating vanity metrics and ego boosts, stop performing sainthood and face the data. And so we arrive at the conclusion of this report. The evidence has been presented, the motives have been examined, the damage has been cataloged. The final verdict is clear, and it leaves absolutely no room for debate. I want you to let that sink in. If your act of giving is just a byproduct of your wealth or your boredom or your insecurity, if it costs you nothing of real substance, it is not generosity. It's image maintenance. It's vanity. It's self-promotion dressed up as spiritual service. And here's the human cost of all this. Every single time a person of privilege gives away this work for free, they send a crystal clear message to the working professional. They're saying, your craft, your skill, your livelihood, your very survival is optional. It's carelessness with profound consequences. And so we sign the death certificate. The victim here is authenticity. The cause of death? A fatal undercutting by performance. The genuine practice of care is being suffocated by the theater of kindness. This is the quiet confession at the heart of the entire problem. It's the unspoken prayer of the person who devalues the sacred just for a moment of applause. Bless me, I'm cheap. And as long as that remains the operating principle, nothing will ever truly change. The cycle continues. The report is concluded.